ESPN executives soured on Clark because of issues with his words, a dynamic that peaked with an on and off air incident this past season involving colleague Peter Schrager. Who is Peter Schrager? Peter Schrager is the dude from NFL Network. He's a talking head. He is a commentator. He is not a former player. He is not a former athlete. I don't know if that man has ever played football a day in his life. But he has been elevated to be a voice in the NFL space. He is elevated as a commentator, analyst, even as a quasi-insider, and we'll get to that in a second, in the NFL space. So he carries a lot of clout. He was on NFL Network. Now NFL Network is under the umbrella of the four-letter network, ESPN. So now all of those dudes from NFL Network in terms of talent, not all, because some of them have been let go as well. Now, some of them are getting let go today as well. But the more popular commentators, pundits, insiders from NFL Network have made their way, and they're now employees of ESPN, Schrager chief among them. So where do we go in terms of the online spat? Now, they had an online spat because Schrager was defending CeeDee Lamb. It was a back and forth. I'm not going to play it because of copyright, but the back and forth was on Get Up last September, as you see here. Schrager defended Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's performance in a season-opening loss. Clark said, "That's the non-player in you." Schrager asked Clark not to belittle him, and later that day, Clark apologized on the Elon app, writing, "Today I had an interaction with my colleague Schrager, both on and off the air, that I regret." So, Peter Schrager, NFL Network pundit, now ESPN NFL pundit. Here's the deal where, in the words of Avon Barksdale, Ryan Clark was caught playing them away games. Now, I just told y'all that I think, and I'll come off the screen for a little bit here. I just told y'all that I think Ryan Clark helped rebuild the NFL coverage on ESPN. He helped rebuild it, right? In doing so, they use him on all the shows. Get Up, First Take, NFL Live, Monday Night Countdown, all the shows. They were running them all over the place. He was popping up on all the ESPN podcasts. He was doing all the stuff. All the meanwhile, he's doing his own thing with the pivot, right? So he's doing all of this, all the things. In doing so, he was known for going at people. He would go at Stephen A. He would go at whoever. He had no back down. But you can't do that with every single person. Now, he might not have known Peter Schrager in terms of who he's connected to. He might not have known that Peter Schrager, even though to you and I, he's just a random talking head dude that pops up on TV a lot. Within the industry, it is known that Peter Schrager is held in high regard. Now, when you have a back and forth with someone that is held in high regard, there are potential consequences at play. Did Ryan Clark play a away game? In the words of Avon Barksdale, was Ryan Clark caught out there playing them away games? Because Ryan Clark barked up a tree, and that tree fell on him, and that tree's name is Peter Schrager. Let's go into deeper reasons as to why that could be the case. So, what's the proof that I have that Peter Schrager is held in high regard? Exhibit A, Your Honor. Peter Schrager is highly connected. If you recognize the faces on the screen, that's by design. If you recognize the face on the left and the face on the right, you should, because these names are held in high regard. These are luminaries within the industry. These are luminaries within the NFL ranks. And this is another indication of a troubling sign of how it's not about what you know or how you came about to know. It's all about who you know. And it's not just about who you know, it's even more so about who's going to protect you. Who do you know that is going to protect you? So if you have Ryan Clark, who is a strident, poignant, proud black NFL commentator, getting at one of your boys, and you could make a call, and your other boy can make a call, and then all of a sudden Ryan Clark has to run to the Elon app to apologize. And then just a few months later, because that was September, this is now July, so not even a year later, that guy is no longer employed by the company. Do you see what I see or nah? Is the math mathin' or nah? If I'm Peter Schrager and I know I'm protected, there's a certain confidence I could walk around Bristol with, right? I could walk around and feel as though, yeah, I'm one of them. I'm good. I'm protected. I'm Teflon. If someone on air challenges me and tries to belittle me, which is the words he used, do not try to belittle me. Taking that term and leveraging it, that goes a long way, because words carry a lot of meaning. Having those words, when people, especially on air, I can tell you as someone that's worked behind the scenes as a producer, director, technical director, all that stuff, the talent has these words that they're prepared to use. Like having that vocabulary. Vocabulary is in itself a weapon. If you know what to do, if you know how to use your words could be a weapon. Being able to have in real time, to be able to tell Ryan Clark, do not belittle me. That is threatening language. And not threatening in they put your hands up, we need to shoot the fade, but in the threatening of, I can tell the bosses that you're belittling me, that you're demeaning me. That's going to go far with the bosses up top. So if you already know you're connected, if you already know you're Teflon, and you have an on-air dispute, and you feel as though, hey, I need to get this dude up out of here if he's going to be coming at me like this. Hey, Ryan, don't belittle me. Even though it just seems like a normal word to you and I, because I've been in this game for almost 20 joints, I know, oh, that is code. That is code to let him know and let the bosses know, hey, this ain't going to keep happening. You're not going to come at me just because I'm not a foreign player. And this is the dichotomy of where we have, this is the dichotomy of what the sports media landscape is today, where we have a bunch of former athletes flooding the space and a bunch of networks trying to fill out airtime and trying to fill out studio shows with a bunch of former athletes. The problem is that athletes don't know how to moderate. Athletes don't know how to host, by and large. Yeah, you go host a podcast, but that's just talking, it's conversational. But hosting a show is a different beast, a different set of skills that is required. For the most part, you have your people that sneak through the cracks with no skills and still fail upwards. But hosting a show, moderating a show, being a non-athlete analyst in a show is extremely difficult depending on how you move. If Peter Schrager is held in high regard by the executives and you have a non-athlete like Peter Schrager that you're going to elevate, you can have a former athlete calling your future prize up or your future star out by saying, hey, that's the non-player in you. As in, your opinion is less noteworthy, less valued because you didn't play. And that's going to continue to be the tug of war on all these shows. Because until athletes get good enough to where they can host and moderate, in addition to provide the former athlete perspective, there's going to have to be someone who is not an athlete sitting at that desk or sitting on these podcasts, these live streams, these shows that have to be the traffic cop. Someone's got to be Ernie Johnson, right? As good as Shaq is, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley is, they need a Ernie Johnson to steer the ship. Let those guys do what they do. Let those guys be the big personalities. Let them have their jokes. Let them go off the rails a little bit. But at some point, someone's got to rein them in. And that type of person normally looks like Peter Schrager. So if there's a path for Peter Schrager to be elevated to a higher space, you can't have Ryan Clark, who has already been strident, who has already been, very prideful in his takes and has had, viral moments going back and forth for people already. You can't have this guy demeaning or, in his own words, belittling what the Ford of the network deems as part of their future. So if that guy just also so happens to be connected, who is more expendable? Who is more expendable when it comes to Ryan Clark, former player, who's got his own thing with the pivot? He can easily just ride that out and continue to monetize that. Or there's other networks that I think Ryan Clark's phone is blowing up for a multitude of reasons today, but I'm sure part of that is that other networks, whether it's your Amazons, your Netflixes, they're all trying to get at Ryan Clark to pull up because Ryan Clark is damn good at what he does. Ryan Clark, if he wants to be hired, could be hired today. I'm sure there is something now, here's another interesting piece, and I'll come up the screen here for a little bit, and I see the chat. We're going to get to the chat right after this. If there is a scenario where Ryan Clark is laid off, normally in a layoff, there's a negotiation of sorts within the layoff. There's severance, right? Part of that severance is usually a non-disclosure agreement, a NDA. Also, at times, part of that could be a non-compete clause, which bars you from working with a competitor for a set amount of time. If this is the case with Ryan Clark being laid off now, one, does he have to sign an NDA, which would hinder him from going on even his own platform in the pivot and talking about what just happened to him? There could even be a non-compete clause where if Ryan Clark is offered opportunity, let's say Netflix spins the block and says, hey, yo, now that you're unemployed, we would love to have you for our NFL games this year. Christmas, Black Friday, all that stuff. We want you in the mix. If Ryan Clark has to sign a NDA and a non-compete, that can't happen. So this gets layered because what if the four-letter network not only has Ryan Clark sign an NDA, which would ban him from being allowed to speak on being laid off from the four-letter network or the circumstances which he thinks led to him being let off at the four-letter network on his own platform, but he could also be subject to a non-compete clause to where he can't even go to an Amazon, to a Netflix, to an NBC, to a CBS, and just start working again. That would be extremely dirty. So not only do you lay me off while I'm working for you, and then you put clips up of the last show I did with you to help continue to push your algorithm and your views and your metrics and your monetization. But then you're going to make me sign something that says not only can I not talk about what just happened to me on my own platform, but I can't even go get another job for a certain amount of time. It's a dirty game. It's a dirty, nasty game. Now, if you're Ryan Clark, here's the advantage of being a former athlete. You can have the bread, assuming he's been good with his money, and he was an undrafted free agent, made his bread in the league, and rags to riches type story for Ryan Clark, but he's made his money. Pivot's monetized. He's had ESPN money the last few years. He should be okay. Can't speak on nobody's pockets, but in theory, he should be okay. Do you say no to the severance package? Because the severance package has an NDA and a non-compete clause in it. I know I'm talking real deep contract shit, but this is the game that we're in. This is the industry. I'm trying to give you the perspective of that. If you're Ryan Clark, do you turn down whatever the severance package is? And it might be a nice one because he's talent, right? He was allegedly making upwards of over $2 million a year. That severance package might be 7 figures. Are you turning down a 7-figure severance package because it has language like an NDA, because it has language like a non-compete? Now, if he's been good with his bread, that 7 figures shouldn't really matter because he can really get most of that money back, maybe not millions. I don't know how much the Pivot doing over there, but I don't know if he's getting millions, but just the views alone, if he turns down the severance package, turns down the NBA, turns down the non-compete, and if he goes on the Pivot and airs it out, that's going to do numbers everywhere, every platform. And then he could go get hired by another company and then run those numbers up. I don't know. Y'all let me know. Would you turn down the severance package, a potential 7-figure severance package, so you can speak freely on your own platform, which is already monetized, and then go get a job at a competitor? Do you take that bag and go chill? Because let's just say the severance, let's say the NDA might be longer than a year. The non-compete might just be for a year, but the NDA might be longer than a year. Would you be willing to sit at home at the crib, take a 7-figure payout, chill at the crib for a year, but you still can't talk about what happened to you, or not sign anything and I'm airing everything out?